welcome back. This is Dr. Arayeh with one more episode of Joyful Living Show. And I'm so excited and humbled and honored to have Dr. Chanie with me today. And thank you so much for accepting my invitation, my dear. Introduce yourself. I'm going to jump into our really hot and my favorite topic of mindfulness.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm incredibly humbled and grateful to have this conversation with you today. And just really thank you for all that you do to bring just more love and kindness and spirituality in the world. So just want to say thank you so much to you and for everything that you do too. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm all about mindfulness. I was actually teaching a university course last night. I'm like, this is my baby. It's like mindfulness is like my baby. I know it's the tool to end suffering. I remember when I was researching mindfulness because my PhD dissertation is in mindfulness. You know
So
that, right?
mine's also.
Yours is also. So I actually saw this in a peer-reviewed article that mindfulness is a tool to end suffering. And then my supervisor was like, "No, that's not a scientific word. Don't use end." And I thought, okay, I use alleviate or something. But really, it said end. What do you say? What's your take on mindfulness?
I would say my take on mindfulness is when we look at the actual word, it's all about being present. And when we're able to cultivate being present and being in the right here, right now, not what happened yesterday and what will happen tomorrow, when we're really able to hone in on being in the right here, right now, I do agree that we have the ability to end suffering. Because when we're in the right here, right now, even if the events that are happening that are uncomfortable or comfortable or happy or joyous or upset or frustrating, when we're able to be with that, we're able to cultivate that discernment and we're able to cultivate that being in the present. And ultimately, that does have the ability to kind of like end suffering when we're just accepting the as isness of what is happening in the right here, right now. And I think that's like a fundamental element of what mindfulness is about.
Exactly. So the definition, this is really fresh in my mind because I taught it last night, but it's uh, mindfulness is the non-judgmental observation of the present moment experience. So that keyword, non-judgmental, even if I have pain, I'm not judging it. I'm just watching it. I'm kind of detaching from it and say, okay, I have pain. Let me see, like if I have a toothache, let me actually feel the pain. Actually, this is in scientific papers again, where even physical pain subsided if you really feel the pain. So this is mainstream science, right? What do you think about that?
I think that when we're able to connect to what we're feeling, whether it's a toothache or whether it's a backache, or whether there's something emotionally that's going on, when we're able to cultivate that non-judgmental element and that discernment of it. Because a lot of the times, if I'm experiencing the toothache or the pain or the back pain, what happened automatically and instantaneously, I'm going into this place of ouch, this really hurts. I'm in a lot of pain. Why is it happening to me? I wish it wasn't happening to me. Like maybe there's this avoidance or there's this victimhood, or maybe there's this space of like not accepting, like I'm really not experiencing it and I'm dismissing it. And when we're able to just cultivate that, I'm noticing that I'm experiencing pain. I'm noticing that I'm experiencing upsetness or frustration rather than I am the pain, I'm the frustration, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, and cultivate a little bit of that step away from that, becoming the observer of the observing, the watcher of the watching, the thinker of the thinking. And I think with mindfulness, we're able to cultivate that rather than becoming reactive. We learn how to become responsive and discerning, and then deciding how to proceed and what to do, to stay, to leave, to be upset, to be frustrated, or to really just accept the as isness and then cultivate a little bit of that space to discern and to decide, how will I go about the toothache? How will I go about the back pain? How will I go about the emotional trickiness or challenges that I'm experiencing?
Exactly, exactly. So it's for example, when it comes to toothache, oh no, now I have to go to the dentist. I don't like the pain. I don't like the money. All those things. That suffering comes from those thoughts, right? Where we have between 30,000 to 100,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are negative, and they're called actually automatic negative thoughts or ants, right? They're just creeping and crawling in our brain all day long, and those are those ants are actually making us suffer because they create some sort of feeling in us and we don't know what to do with it. We don't know what to do with our thoughts because they're not aware, we are not aware of them, they're not conscious, and the feelings that we have, we don't know how to feel them, so we kind of become this victim of all these thoughts and suppressed feelings, right? But when we observe them in our mindfulness meditation or mindfulness practices, when we observe them, we understand that, okay, they're just, they're just passing like the train. I'm watching it. I don't have to be them. I don't identify with them. And then if there is any pain, real pain, then I'm going to just feel the pain. And as science shows, when we feel the pain, it will pass, right?
Yeah. Definitely. It's about not getting caught up and not getting caught on that train and not getting caught in that wave of like, it's just noticing that I'm experiencing this emotion. I'm experiencing this feeling, and it's just kind of like writing it out and maybe like having a mantra of this too shall pass, or everything isn't impermanent. Like it's just ebbing and flowing with thoughts and with feelings. And I think that's what the mindfulness practice is about. It's just that practice of the right here, right now, the right here, right now, as many times as needed, as a way to better be able to show up with pain, upset, frustration, anger, with everything and anything.
I love it because yesterday I was jogging, and then I'm like, okay, how can I pull myself here to this moment? And I literally said, I'm here. That mantra by itself pulled me into the present moment because we are barely in the present moment, right? And I love that you use the term mantra or these little keywords or phrases. I think they are magical. We really need them. For example, this too shall pass, or the glass is already broken. That's a Buddhist saying where, this is the nature of life: impermanence, sickness, disease, death. And I'm not resisting the reality of the present moment by saying the glass is already broken. As soon as the glass is being made, it's in its nature. Dr. Shefali taught this, right? Do you remember in one of the conferences? I think she had like this light bulb in a plastic bag, and she was.
Ah, yes. And
You
she took
remember
it,
that?
she like
I
shattered
love it.
it.
That's
It was
my
so
favorite
brilliant.
mantra. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So these mantras, or this is not a life or death, this is not an emergency, these kind of phrases that we can come up with ourselves to kind of dismantle these automatic negative thoughts or these ants, right? And come to this
Yeah.
present moment and just observe.
One one thing that recently came to mind, and that like there's students, and I'm working with a student that is experiencing like a significant amount of panic. And one way that's really seems to be helping her is telling her, with whatever trickiness or challenges was happening, let's say socially, was in 5 years, in 10 years, is this something that will matter? And 99% of the time, the answer is no. So with whatever's coming up, it's thinking like, in 2 years, okay, maybe 5 years or 10 years, is this something that's really going to be having an impact on me? And for most of the time, that's not the case. And that's such a great way to just like shift whatever's happening with it. It's like, in 5 years, this is really going to be irrelevant and not so important. I can bring myself back to the right here, right now. Maybe I'm still getting caught up with whatever's happening, but I still can cultivate being present and cultivate joy and cultivate like love and kindness in the right here, right now. Just knowing that this is, it is what it is, for now.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So one of the ways, like scientifically, I was an engineer, that, right? I'm very like, I want to like have this thick mind and I want to just persuade my mind. This is it. One of the ways that I persuade my mind that mindfulness is really a good tool is this, where we have all those thoughts, right? And we are constantly thinking about them without ourselves knowing, right? So now, if I cultivate that present moment awareness, if I use my five senses, if I use my breath in that moment, for example, if I look at something very mundane, just look at it very carefully and really activate the sense of sight, for example, or smell or whatever, in that moment, because the working memory is very limited, it's not going to have any more like extra resources to think about those ants because it's completely devoted to those senses or to my breath or whatever it is, right? So hence, I'm happy because I'm not thinking those ants, right? I'm using my brain resources to really cultivate those. Like we are barely in the present moment. Like even if like we have something, the most scrumptious food in front of us, and we think we're enjoying it, we really are not, because we are not activating that sense of taste in our mouth. We are just thinking, and we are not aware. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of the times when we are doing something, sometimes like we are anticipating and going into the future, and sometimes we're kind of like thinking about what has happened. And it tends to be really, really hard to bring that dial back to the right here, right now, of like,
Mhm.
okay, now I'm eating this sandwich and I'm really appreciating and noticing the texture of the bread and then the egg on my teeth and noticing the smell of it, because I think that we're constantly going and going and doing and not really realizing we are human beings and not really the human doing. And I think in my life personally, when I am eating or when I am doing certain things through a practice of almost like 10 plus years, like you're able to really be in the right here, right now, and you're able to really cultivate picking up on what am I feeling, what am I sensing. And I think the key thing is when it comes to mindfulness, it's amazing and spectacular and brilliant. And I think what's important, even like a step before that, is that awareness, the awareness that I'm in the past, I'm in the future, the awareness that I'm not being attentive to whatever like I'm doing. And then that's when I'm able to cultivate that and cultivate what am I physiologically feeling in my body? What is my breath? What's happening to my breath when I'm upset or when I'm angry? When I'm able to cultivate that, that's when I'm able to bring myself back and to cultivate as best as I can being in the right here, right now, and cultivating that, being in that presitude.
Exactly. So those ants or automatic negative thoughts, they're either coming from the past or the future, right? They're either from, regrets from the past or worries and fears about the future. So by bringing ourselves to the present, anchoring ourselves to the present moment, we are literally, taking their power away, those things that are coming from past and future. Beautiful. And as we were talking before we recorded, you mentioned the word that I love, and it's kind of thrown out there so much, and the word is authenticity. How do you relate, like, by how can we all cultivate and know our authenticity and live our authenticity, our authentic life, our authentic being? How does mindfulness facilitate this? How is it related?
So a lot of the work that I do, I work, and as we were talking before we hopped on the recording, I work a lot with kids ages 0 to 12, and then I work virtually with parents as well. And a key thing for I know for myself growing up, I grew up not really being able to step into my authentic voice, really being told what to do and how to do it to like a very extreme level. And I felt like as a kid, like I didn't have that authentic voice. And now through like a lot of like spirituality and really being on a journey of like cultivating mindfulness and meditation and breath work, I'm really starting to uncover who I am and really cultivating my authenticity. So a lot of what I do working with parents, working with kids, working with teachers, and even when I'm speaking on mindfulness meditation, I think a key component is that authenticity of rather than what is my mind saying, what is my heart saying, and keeping into tap into that. And that's how I would define it. And that's how I look at authenticity. My truth is not with my mind. My truth is with what my heart. It's not with mom or dad or society or teachers or expectation from culture. My authenticity is my heart, and keeping to build that muscle and connect to that muscle, to that heart. And when I'm working with parents and with teachers and even with the kids, I always ask them, like, we want to do some yoga, we want to do some writing or coloring or this or that. And I always ask them, what is your body feeling? What is feeling authentic and true to you? Because it's the biggest gift when we're allowing and helping kids remain tapped into that authenticity so that they don't need to discern they might need to discern, them probably will, but not to the degree I think as adults need to, because they're so connected and they're so tapped into that heart space and that heart center with it.
Beautiful. You answered my question beautifully because as we are practicing, we are strengthening the muscle of mindfulness. We're saying no thank you to these thoughts. No thank you. Coming back to breath. No thank you. Coming back to senses. So those thoughts come from our culture. They come from that they are the voices of our caregivers, right? So when we're saying no thank you, little by little they just fall off. And what's left is our pure essence. That's how we can connect to our authentic self, and little by little we become aware that we are not these thoughts and these shoulds and shouldn'ts, right?
And have
And
to
then
and could and need to and must of this person and that person. And we kind of almost create a little bit of this bubble, but like this beautiful bubble of that I'm so tapped into me and I know who I am, that with what other people are doing or saying or that I need to do, I'm so connected that it's okay. I'll let the people be because I'm so connected to my essence and my soul and my divinity.
love it, absolutely love it. This is so that's why, like, I am so in love with mindfulness. I really do think it's the antidote to it's the tool to end suffering, because that you just mentioned that, like, I really, it's not about relaxation only, right?
We can be,
As
but
we
it's not.
practice, we become connected to who we are, and that's what everyone is looking
Exactly.
for. Know it or not, deep,
It's
deep,
like who
we are
I
craving.
am.
Exactly, we're craving to know who we are, and that will help us. I know we have 2, 3 minutes, but and I know you have all these conferences, beautiful ones, and I want you to just introduce to us maybe a minute or two, something like your favorite mindfulness tool that people can learn and do. If you can just introduce it to us in 1 or 2 minutes.
Yes, I would say my favorite mindfulness meditation tool, and it's simple yet it's so profound, is just connecting to the breath. Honestly, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, we all have the ability to connect to our breath. And the key is noticing, is my breath feeling deep? Is my breath feeling shallow? And I have the ability, and I think Susie Lula says, is just by 10 breaths, I have the ability to just shift and just breathing in and out, and just noticing that. I think that's one of the most like simple yet effective way, because no matter where we're going, no matter what we're doing, we always have the ability to come back to the breath. And when we're able to cultivate a little bit of that muscle through meditation or mindfulness practice, and we're able to bring that off the mat and into everyday life, that can really have a profound impact. And I would say when we are doing breath, and I was reading, forgot what the book is called. I think it's called Breathe. I think it's by someone, Nestor, I forgot the first name. A key thing of, he did like a lot of research surrounding what is the best way to breathe. And what he said is primarily breathing in and out of the nose and trying to not have breath, like breathing from the mouth, and just breathing, taking deep inhalations and exhalations with the nostrils. That's one way that can significantly like shift. And it's breathing in, holding maybe for like 3 seconds, breathing out, and that exhalation of trying to hold that for twice as long. So if you're breathing in for 2 seconds, you're holding for 2 seconds, breathing out, and then trying to hold for that 4 seconds. And that's something that's simple and that can easily be done. And I personally do it before doing a talk, or if I'm having a stressful day, like I'll just connect, and it shifts like anxiety, and it helps promote being in the present pretty instantaneously and pretty quickly.
Love it, love it. So when we count, we also have box breathing, right? 4, 4, 4, 4. Breathe in, 4. Breathe, hold 4. Breathe out 4, and hold 4. So while we're kind of counting the seconds, we are engaging our smart brain, which will actually bring back our fight or flight, offline, and then we can actually become who we are and connect to that inner knowing that you were talking about. So just by, even counting the seconds and breathing, that will also help us to calm ourselves down. Love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Chanie. I know you're super busy and you have to
Uh,
go right
Thank
now.
you.
Thank you for accepting my invitation. Come back. I love you. Thank you, thank you. Love you, everyone.
Beautiful. Mwah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.